Let's take a look at some information and charts on Ripple for BraveNewCoin. I'm going to start with the usual discussion regarding the SEC charges against Ripple for unregistered securities offering. And I think the potential stupidest timeline for this is Ripple gets off easy, pays a minimal fine, and that somehow is interpreted as bullish by the market, or they just flat out win. That could also be interpreted bullish by the market, obviously. Now, if they lose and they have to pay 1.3 billion, I don't even know if that's that big of a deal, honestly, because they have so much money from just selling Ripple on market. Who knows how much is still in existence, but we will see when we see it. But any reduced sentence or whatever charge should be seen as bullish, unfortunately. Now, they call themselves a way to efficiently move money around the world, interbanking ledger at one point. The Swift competitor competition was in there. They had all sorts of different types of things, RippleNet, yada blah blah. They aren't necessarily crypto. They aren't decentralized, which if they're trying to do what they're doing, fine. I'm sure the hardworking people at Ripple and the associated Ripple agencies do good things. It's the lies from mainly Garlinghouse, the CEO, more than anything, that people just cannot stand. And they still have a 43 billion market cap. So even the SEC fine wouldn't be, in the grand scheme of things, that big of a deal if they just flat out paid it. They're trying to fight it every tooth and nail that they can, which is whatever. But when that news hits, it's going to impact things in the near term in a big way, one way or the other, right? We don't know what the resolution is going to be. But this is the real big issue with Ripple. More of the supply is not distributed. It's not circulating. Ripple has a little bit, and then the escrow are coins that are going to get slowly released over probably multiple decades if Ripple's in existence long enough. But how it works is they release 1 million Ripple from escrow every month, and if it doesn't get sold, it returns to escrow, which theoretically sounds fine, but the beneficiaries of the escrow sales are Ripple, the company themselves. So that is where SEC is taking issue, and other class action lawsuits have taken issue. And we can look at these sales over time. Previously, they had been selling even more than OTC sales. That's probably what really got them in the most trouble, is just flat out selling. I think it was Poloniex. He used to see ticks of like 0.01 Ripple every couple seconds for like ever, in perpetuity. So that was part of it. They stopped that in Q4 2019, but they're still selling a significant amount. 150 million Q1 2021, 158 million 2022, almost an all-time high in sales USD wise for Ripple. And Link does the same thing, right? They sell on market, so maybe SEC has them in their sights next, and they'll always argue it's for business development or whatever, right? Community development, which that's fine, right? But the market's going to decide when enough's enough. The other part about Ripple is the decentralization argument. And when you're looking at this, you always want to look at number of nodes, 860. You want to see where the nodes are in the world. Are they decentralized geographically? This doesn't appear to be loading for me, which is fine. Most of the nodes are upgraded to the latest version, but you'd have to go through these and see which ones are Ripple nodes, which ones are Ripple validators, which of these does Ripple pay for, subsidize effectively to hold and stay running, how many of these have full nodes. These are important considerations. Their argument is always, if Ripple the company disappears tomorrow, Ripple the network will still be there strong as ever. We won't know that experiment till it happens, but I find that doubtful personally. Looking at transaction counts have basically been flat over the past 4 years plus here. Not too much going on transaction count wise. Average transaction value is rising slightly with a rise in prices. So not anything particularly important to discuss there. NVT, though, inverse metric of economic utility, relative to price, relative to market cap, is declining at all-time lows, which should be seen as bullish in a vacuum. Active addresses approaching really effectively near all-time highs, which also should be seen as bullish in a vacuum. And this is usually for some reason related to DeFi dexes or something, right? I don't know exactly what it is for Ripple's case, but seeing active addresses rising to multi-month highs should be bullish. price relative to MVRV, which is a measure of market cap versus on-chain activity. MVRV is currently 0.5. Historically, for most coins, an MVRV of 2 is basically the top almost every time. Previously, 1.9 was the top, then 2.25 was the top. Most recently, 1.93 was the top. So anyway, it's at 0.5, so it's got plenty of room for the upside to that 2 danger zone. And I would just watch this going forward. Even with the SEC news, if this drops significantly, does it drop to an MVRV of sub 0.5, which historically has been a really good buy zone, even 0.4. If it drops below 0.4 to 0.3, that is a massive buy based on technicals, coin metrics data, right? I'm not talking about fundamentals. Fundamentally, I think this thing's worth 0. But if you're trading this is the type of thing to look for. Today, they announced some sort of NFT fund. This is classic PR, flavor of the month. Try to get people's attention on your coin type stuff, not necessarily innovation or quote unquote important things. Just, every other coin's doing NFTs, so why not? Why not Ripple, right? Why not Ripple? Ripple's Google Trends basically back to multi-year lows. So if things do turn bullish, expect this to start to creep up as well. Flipping gears to technicals, this is the 1-year MA in the bottom, the multiple, 5x multiple of the 1-year MA in the red here. And we did recently hit that multiple at around 2. So again, if we're talking like the stupidest timeline I can think of where Ripple is successful against fighting off this lawsuit, this thing could spike way beyond 2, even way beyond 350, like 450. I don't know, like real quickly, just off the news. One of the issues with Ripple right now for US people is they can't really touch it. It's been delisted pretty much everywhere. It's been delisted out of several funds as well. So that would be another bullish case for all this stuff, is if all those funds jump back into Ripple and if all the listings that were unlisted get relisted, it's just this crazy news bullish cycle for Ripple for really no reason other than winning a lawsuit against the SEC. That's the potential that we're headed for on this SEC news against Ripple. So yeah, I like 350. I like 450 if it wins the lawsuit. I don't know the odds on that necessarily, but we're talking just, complete left side of the curve trading there. Zoomed way out on the 3-day USD chart. I put the cloud on here with the 50 and the 200 just to show this thing is a jumbly mess. Currently above the 200 on the 3-day, above the 50 on the 3-day, below the cloud on the 3-day. There hasn't really been a trend per se recently. I mean, you could definitely argue bullish. Obviously, it's gone up, but trend metrics on like the cloud has struggled with this on low time frames. So the high time frame 3 days probably best. There are a bunch of monthly pivots on the way up, basically to all-time high retest. But I don't really think the chart technicals help you too much here unless you zoom way, way out. There's support at 50, there's support at 25, and then 0. But I think all this just hinges on what happens with the SEC. This chart scares the pants out of me because, again, on high time frames, this thing has coiled for multiple years and is ready for some catalyst to send this thing to infinity very quickly, like Ripple loves to do. Historically, it goes from the lows to all-time highs in a couple weeks, as it's done in 2017. I just don't know if with all the DeFi competition, layer 1 competition, Ripple's not really listed in places people like to gamble trade. It's not on DeFi per se. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope this thing doesn't explode to the upside. Not because it's a threat against Bitcoin, just because it just means we are on the stupidest timeline. And the thing that makes no sense to be bullish is bullish. But this is coiling for a very significant break well beyond 4K sats, probably 8K sats, somewhere in that range, I'd imagine. It is extremely possible, depending on that lawsuit. And against ETH, it definitely doesn't look as good for an imminent breakout, but there's a potential double bottom here, mean reversion type stuff to 001. Just something to keep in mind if there's like a flurry of news surrounding Ripple for any reason. Last, I'll just mention the ETH BTC fund and DeFi portfolio. I trade for Techme Capital and Enzyme.finance, a non-custodial portfolio management solution where you can send ETH or USDC or just watch what I'm doing. You can see everything, including AUM performance, allocation, all the vaults I'm in here on Urine, Comp, and Aave, as well as the trades and the trades tab down below. That's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.